our preschool. It's a little child scooter that was all twisted at the front, and Andrew took it away to clean it all up and give it a new life.
Brilliant. So if everybody's happy, and every time I look, Maria is in a different place on my screen. I don't know how she do it.
I'm on my phone and it's been propped up with a pillow and it just isn't really functioning. So slowly it just slides down. I don't notice, and it has to go back up. So you'll have to bear with it. You'll have to bear with my phone usage at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, if Andrew's happy to sort of take the lead, I'll push and let it crack on.
Right. So the little child's trike, which
My computer.
the handlebars were pointing in the opposite what the wheel was. So just a point of tightening up the adjusting the clamp that was on here, and then just gluing the cover, and then just giving it a good old clean, and it's all kind of working as good as gold now. So that was quite fairly straightforward, luckily. So that's all good to use now. So that'll go back to Marion, all kind of ready to rock and roll.
Yay! Yay!
That's that one sorted. So and what I'll do with this one is,
Thank you.
no problem. We had this Canon inkjet printer, which is a scanner as well.
Sounds good.
So that one wasn't feeding the paper through. So it was, you put the paper in. You feed the paper in here, but it just wasn't feeding the paper through. So I took this top half off, which is from here. There's two screws at the top, at the back here, which I took off, which allowed it, and then taking two cables out that were in here to separate the scanner part to the printer, and then just cleaning the wheels, the feed rollers that are in the back here, which because it just wasn't feeding any paper through. You just, it just wasn't liking it feeding the paper at all. So I took that and cleaned the rollers out. Now it does work, but it's still it's just a bit clunky in respect to it feeds it through properly, and it does print like a test sheet, so it prints that okay. So, but it's the ink in it, the two cartridges in it are very low, so it has got, you know, a tiny bit of ink left in it. So it's probably best to use it as a kind of a backup printer, because I don't know how long it will last, but it's working and it does print. So that's you know, it gets another thing working. So that was quite fairly straightforward, because it was just basically a feeding the paper issue. So that's going to fix that one of fairly. It didn't take me too long to kind of have a look at that. That probably took 20 minutes or so to have a look at that, take that, to find the two screws and take that part off and put that together. So that's kind of got that one's working. So it's that's that one. So I've got both the cables for that, USB cable and the power cable. So that I'll give back to you. And the other one, so that was fairly straightforward, thankfully. Now this other printer, which was this Brother laser printer, which I had to kind of delve into a bit more of how to fix that, because again, it just wasn't feeding the paper. You could hear it you know, first of all, it just didn't want to feed any paper. You could send a print to it. It just didn't want to kind of print anything. So then did a kind of a reset on it, found out how to do a kind of a reset by just pressing and holding the start button on it, which is the go button on it, which is the green button there. Then switching it on from the switch on the side, and then the ready button would you just have to count that for 8 times and then let go of the green button, and then that would do like a factory reset on the printer. But that still didn't clear it. So I looked into it a bit more and tried a few other bits of it as well, and also by under the bottom, this is the rollers that are quite porous, that this feeds the paper up and through this way. Through it here is a tiny hole, slit there, which the paper goes through. So it's the point of these weren't picking up the paper. So I cleaned these, but it still didn't like it. So these, by cleaning these with alcohol, normally takes the grease and the grime and everything off them. They weren't dirty at all really, but by cleaning these, it will help it anyway, just to kind of in the future to keep them clean. And just by giving it a kind of it was clean anyway, but just giving it a kind of the rollers here as well, which it feeds out of into the top, and just making sure that everything underneath was all okay. So there's no broken bits or anything in there, but it still didn't like it. So just by looking into it a little bit further, there was a few things on there that on the internet that I found to try and resolve it, but they didn't work. So just by, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little white tab there, which was pushed into the printer further, and just by getting a big paper clip and kind of curling it up, and then using it as a kind of a claw to pull that little tab out so it's further out as it is now, that fixed it. So I don't know exactly what that causes that, but it's reset it to print now. So that now prints black and white, your test page. So that one works as normal. There's no grinding noises or any unusual noises. It's just printing as normal. So that, just by, that took a little bit longer to kind of just find out what could be an issue or how to reset it, just by saying it just wasn't, you didn't hear any gears or anything trying to feed the paper, but just by trying a few different things on it, what the common problems were, and just by looking through a few different forums and a bit more on the internet, find out what that little tab was. But that was on a different, quite a few different these brother printers. Excuse me. And then so it's not primarily for the this exact model, but it has that same tab at the front. It has this same, what is it? It has that same tab on a number of different models that are the brother printer. So it's not exclusive to this model, but a range of different ones. So it must be a safety or a some kind of you know, a safety measure or something like that, that it says, oh, I need to be reset. So just by pulling that out and then just you know, doing another a print on it, a test print, it prints it fine. So that's so that one's working fine. There's no noises or anything coming from it, so that's working as normal. So that's all working as new. So that one's all sorted, all fine. So yeah, so that's those two. That wasn't too hard to sort those two out, thankfully. I have had some other ones that, depending on what manufacturer they are, come up with various different things. But with these two, the Brother laser printer was a little bit more to kind of find out what the issue was. But just by putting that little tab out and then just resetting it again, and it prints fine. So it seems to be both of those printers now sit to work, but obviously the Canon one is just, you know, a little bit noisy. So, but it does still print okay. Yeah, so that's those two really. So it's not much more I can add to those really, but they both work, and the scooter is all up and running. So we fixed it to you know, all of them 2.5 out of 3. So I think that was quite good. So it's quite interesting to find out, to look into what common problems that these printers have. So it must be quite a, I wouldn't say a common thing for this little white tab on the Brother printer, but I didn't really find out exactly what this little white tab means or what it's used for. But I think it must be for it's a maintenance or a safety to, you know, it needs resetting at something. I didn't really find out exactly what it was for. But that that works no problem at all. So that's as good as new, that the laser printer. So that's
how much
good to.
How much are you going to sell that back to Marion for then?
That's free of charge. Free of charge. I'm quite, you know, I'm just, I know, I can't charge.
No, I'm not going to. I wasn't going to suggest you were. But,
That
that was fantastic, mate. That was really well done. Really well done. And you didn't take it apart or anything, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was the laser printer. I've taken some Brother ones apart before, but they are that little bit more complex because they use a fuser which heats up the ink to you know, burn it to the paper. So it is a bit more. It's a bit more advanced in, you know, of what, you know, to take the whole thing apart, because it is a bit more, you know, complicated than an inkjet printer. An inkjet printer is more mechanical, by motors moving the two ink cartridges left to right. So it's a bit more complicated, a bit more mechanical than the laser printer. So it's but just by, you know, researching a little bit, luckily, you know, it didn't take you know, need me to take anything apart of it really, of the laser printer, which I'm quite grateful for. So that is something that, you know, I'd know again for the future. If a Brother laser printer comes up again, I'd know to check for that little white slot at the front again. So it's a good little
hand up to ask you a question. Either that or she was just waving at me.
No, it's just to say that actually we do have another one.
But that one, the roller is burnt out. One of the rollers is burnt out though.
Yeah, the other.
You can buy the rollers, but I don't know what else might be the problem with it. You know, that might be the only problem with it, but I don't know. But,
So if you wanted another play, I can swap you.
Well, I'll give it another try. I'll give that one a try. You know, when I drop these back to you, then I can give that one another look at.
Right, so but that was going to the tips, so you might as well try. And if you need to buy any other roller, of course we'll pay any expenses, but you know, it's whether it's worth repairing, I suppose.
Well, that's the thing, because a lot of these, especially the inkjet printers, you know, they sell them cheaper because the ink cartridges, you know, cost a lot of money. You know, I've bought a Canon one, and that takes 5 cartridges. So to get the proper Canon a set is about £60, which is near enough the price of the printer. So it's just think, is it worth buying, you know, or getting that kind of whatever's wrong with it? Is it worth the time and effort to get it fixed, or you know, to get something replaced on it? So it's something like that you kind of have to weigh it up. So, but it's a point of, if it can be fixed, I don't like chucking anything away. You know, it's a point of, it can be fixed, you know, without too much trouble and without, you know, stripping it down completely. I mean, I've had an inkjet printer before where it was an Epson printer, normally where the cartridges, the 2 ink cartridges, color and a black one, where it stops on the right hand side, underneath it is like a square bit of foam where it's where the cartridges stop. It's like it's like an oil tray that you put under a car, and that where the ink had flowed out of the cartridges, it just covered it in ink near enough the whole inside of the printer. So taking the whole thing apart and just cleaning it all, and just by putting a new bit of this little bit of foam back in, and another little bit which was behind where the cartridges go, that seemed to fix it. And it's just something quite simple like that it needs to repair it. But it's just the point, it was just the biggest part was just to take it apart to clean it. So that was the kind of the biggest thing, is things like that, is to you know, I've had a computer that was at Heathrow Terminal 5, and it came back to the workshop to be looked at, and you took the cover off, and it was complete. This is when it was being built, Terminal 5, and it was completely covered in cement dust. And it was just like it must have just kind of, like someone had just dumped you know, a ton of dust in it, and kind of cement dust, you know, where they were building it. And just by cleaning, and you just overheated. So just by cleaning it all out and just making sure everything worked, and it didn't need anything else apart from a good clean out. So using the old compressed air gun on it to clean it all out, that seemed to fix it. So but that's the thing with these technologies, you know, it's good when it's working, but you know, it's just that without everything else, it just needs that little bit of TLC to keep it working as it should. So
that brother printer that you repaired, that's something I used to use a lot, and it's just weird because it just randomly stopped, and I just couldn't get it working. I had this little routine that Karon found out about, and I've put it on my notice board, and I would try that, which is kind of akin to something that you said when you were saying. It wouldn't do it, and it was just random. You know, one minute it was working, the next minute it wasn't, and then I kind of left it for months, and then Karon had a go at it, and so it's frustrating, isn't it? It's something, a tiny little thing, and then it's working, and you can't see it, and you know, do all the basics. I mean,
what I'll do is I'll when I see you next, I'll show you where that little, you know, to show you the little tab, so you know for next time, if it's you don't really see it, you can just say, look, I'll show you the strong paper clip that I used, just bent it over, so it was just a little hook, and just pulled that out, and that was just that. It just fed normally. Then I just make sure that the paper tray, that the green guides are flush, and so that the paper's straight.
Yeah.
Because I've known that before, that if it's in an angle, it doesn't feed it properly, because we've got another. They used to be cork, but now it's like a hard foam, like a rubber, like an older eraser, pencil eraser. Uses to feed the paper. So there's some cogs here which lift the paper that lift the paper tray. So when it wants to feed the paper, it turns the cogs here which lift the paper. So lift it, so when the rollers hit here, it feeds the paper up like that. So it grips hold, it goes, the rollers hit the grey tab, and that's where the rollers feed the paper through. So just by having the paper not straight, it's little things like that it doesn't like sometimes, and that's why you might find you know, it puts it a slight angle, you know, it won't print it straight and it won't feed it properly. So it's just little things like that when you're doing printing to make sure that the guides are level and straight. So that it's things like that. So just little things that if it's not feeding the paper, it's things like making sure there's enough paper in there. Sometimes some printers, if there's only like 3 or 4 or 5 pages in there, it may need, you know, 20 pages in there at least, because some printers can take so many pages. Some can take like a whole ream, but others, you know, if you put too much in, that's just as bad as having not enough. That it just can't cope with that amount, or, you know, not enough paper in there to feed it properly. So it's just having the right amount of paper in there to allow it to kind of feed properly. So it's just little things like that if it's a lot. I think a lot of these printers do come up with it's normally ink or not feeding properly. I think they're the main things that are with these printers that go wrong. So, but yeah, if you know, I'll have a look at that other printer you've got, and we'll have a look at that, see if there's, you know, see if we can have a look at that, and excuse me, and then get that one working as well. So definitely.
Yeah, thank you. It's got four cartridges, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a coloured one.
Yeah, it's a coloured one, and it's got a bigger one, much bigger than that one. It's been a workhorse though. It's done about 6 years, you know, churning it all out, you know, work. So it's been very good. I mean, we've got our money's worth.
Yeah.
We just want to keep it going because it's a decent machine. It's sort of, you know.
Well, it's burnt out now, but it's just the roller. Well, as far as I can see, but I don't know. It might be something else going on, as I said.
Anyway, thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem at all.
The kids will be delighted to see their little scooter working again.
Yeah, I mean that was because it was where it was coming apart at the front. It wasn't a point. It was a point of, because this clamp under here wasn't tight. It was a bit loose as well. Instead of just not holding the the wheel being out of alignment. So just by undoing that, pushing it together, and then just clamping it up tight, did the trick. So that was thankfully again it was fairly straightforward. So but I've just put a little bit of just down here clear super glue just to keep this on tight. so that won't kind of be flapping in the wind. So that's kind of all solid now, so that won't move. So, but no, it's all kind of nice and kind of moving about. So should get another few years out of that. So they'll be all good.
I'll see whatever things we got for you to repair at the Victoria Centre. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think I've put my hand, near enough anything. I think to try and fix, because I don't like throwing stuff away, and I try and recycle as much as I can. I'd rather give it to someone who can, even if it's part that's broken, or I'd rather someone else get something out of it, or to reuse it with something else, rather than chuck it away and go to landfill, recycle to some degree.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good.
No problem.
Thank you very much for that, Andrew. That was very informative, crikey. And obviously you've not got 2.5 there, mate. I think you got 3 out of 3, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean the inkjet printer, it does work. It's a bit clunky, but it does print. You just got to be a bit of give it a little bit more TLC and be a bit kind of gentle with it. So, but it does work. It does work. So, I think you'll get another bit of extended life out of it. So, it's better than not working at all. So, all good.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Has anybody got any questions for Andrew before we let him sort of have a breather? I think he probably deserves it after all that.
No questions.
Is Maria still there?
I am. Look, I am the head, just not the pajamas. I put my hand like this. I will be dressed next time. It's been a long day.
It's fine.
It doesn't matter to any of us.
Yeah, look like this, just like this there. Nothing more.
I've never seen any move so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Bye. Just maybe like this.
Does anybody else have anything else they would like to discuss or have repaired? I've got something that somebody brought me in the Victoria Centre today.
What's that then?
I've got an iron, but I'll hopefully can bring it along the next time we have a proper, repair cafe, because I don't think it's something that could really be repaired online.
What if you bring it to the centre and we pass it on to?
Oh yeah,
because that's
yeah.
what we do with printers. Andrew came and collected it from the centre. So
Okay, yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Anybody up for repairing an iron?
What's wrong?
It's a steam iron, and it's stuck on the highest setting, and it doesn't steam properly. It works, but it doesn't. You can't turn it to low.
This is the temperature setting.
Yeah, yeah, and also the fact that the steam doesn't, it doesn't really steam anymore.
Could be clogged up.
Yeah, it could just need a good clean.
Calcified.
I have tried. Yeah, I have tried to clean it, but
Yeah, I mean the temperature setting sounds like a thermostat issue. I mean, I don't know. I haven't taken irons apart, but I'm going to guess you've got a thermostat in there that's not a lot different to sort of the old heating thermostats before we went wireless electronic.
Right.
And they're effectively mechanical. They're based on 2 types of metal attached together. So one will expand faster than the other, and it sort of causes the switch to flick over. And then when you turn the dial, you're sort of preloading it with like a sprung force, so it will click sooner or later. So it will take more or less temperature for it to react. So there's not an awful lot to go wrong there. So
it's the dial doesn't move. You can't get it to move away from the top setting.
Oh, I see. It's actually
It's stuck. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's, maybe there's something to
You
out there.
fancy to go with it, Andrew or Simon?
I don't mind having a look, but I'm no iron expert. But I'm quite happy to have a look. I'll be
Well,
one
I'll
by
bring
the time I finish breaking it. I mean, fixing it.
I'll bring it into the Victoria Centre, and then, you know, if it can be fixed, then that's great, and if not, then it's not really a
I mean,
problem.
yeah, if it's just something sort of got in there and jammed it up, and it just needs
Yeah.
it
Mm.
could be something simple like that. Or yeah, it could be something broken. You can't get a hold of the parts.
Mm.
Sounds
So,
like a win for
who's
next
going to come and collect it then?
Hun?
Who's going to come and collect it when Judy's dropped it off?
Simon. I think Simon's just agreed to do that.
That's very kind of you, Simon.
Andrew's gone quiet. I mean,
Andrew's doing the right thing and keeps it
happy to share it around.
I think my speakers were going a bit there. I lost you for a minute.
Something else for you to fix, Simon, whilst you're collecting that.
What is it?
It's a very similar thing to an iron, but I think it blows. Basically, it doesn't work, I don't think.
Isn't it just like an iron for windows? Just blow out
Yeah, this is
steam.
what I was saying. It's very similar to iron. It's obviously a window washer, a Karusha one, probably, I don't know. But
It's basically a paint stripper with a flat blade on it.
something similar to that, yeah. And like I say, it takes the water in rather than spits it out. So that could be another little project for you. I've sort of,
Yeah, okay.
I can't exactly remember what was wrong with it. Obviously, it's in bits. I was going to try and attempt for somebody to look at it, but after that conversation you just had with Judy.
Well, what is it?
What is it?
What is it? I can't.
It's a window washer. Look,
No, I mean the oh, is that what you were holding up?
yeah, I've taken it out of the box for
Oh,
you.
right. I will see. That's it.
I wasn't
Without
being rude whilst Andrew and Maria were talking, or Maria, and I thought I'd get this to show you, but
yeah.
that could be quite a nice evening, actually. Like, we can have sort of similar sort of issues, but
Yeah.
totally different things doing stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I'll let Adam know that you're taking that on next time then,
Okay.
and he'll have to
I
put up with
think
his
I've just found my favourite group. I can just bring things that are broken and then walk away. I like this.
I mean,
idea.
the window thing must be relatively simple. So, you know, that's probably something that could be done, at least opened up and found out what's wrong with it there and then, kind of thing, like the laptop.
Apparently he's looked on the internet and there's some way of resetting it, but he can't work out how to do that. So
Set it? Oh God, what is it, made by a printer company now?
Well, I don't know. Like I say, the conversation I had with him was, yeah, I'll ask somebody who probably knows a bit more about sort of doing stuff like that to have a look at it, rather than sort of even make a guess as to what could be wrong with that. But yeah, it was working, like Marion's printer, it was working, and now it ain't. And he hasn't the foggiest idea why.
Excuse the pun.
So there's a little treat for you.
We've got something else as well.
What?
It's a bit more basic. It's one of those pedal bins. It's about 3 foot high, and it's okay. It's just that the hinge at the back, a lot of the parts are plastic and metal, and we could show you, but it's out in the garden at the moment because
we can put it apart, put it together, but you need some strength to really put it together, and also you need something to tie onto a bit to hold it in, because basically the lid's not staying on. It's just
somebody who fixes very decent clocks, Karen. You're not very
strength. If I had the strength, that's fine.
The thing is that the lid hinge is
I know how to fix it. It's not the issue how to fix it, it's having the strength to do it.
It's a plastic collar, and then you've got 2 metal bits that come in, and then it joins to the rod down the back of the bin, and the 2 bits that come into the plastic collar, they need like rivets on the end of them or something to stop them coming out of the plastic collar, because all of a sudden they keep coming out, they keep popping out,
and you have to sort of push them in.
Yeah, and so you put them on one side and it goes out the other side, and you know,
bringing down the center
even to get that bit fixed,
Bring it
If
down
we
to the
get that
centre on Friday. I'll have a go at that. Crikey, I think that's probably a
It's actually not.
Jonathan brute force and ignorance one.
I wish I could take it to work for that. At work, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah, exactly. I can do that sort of fix.
It's not complicated because I got it together, but I haven't got the strength to hold it in, and then it kept jumping out again. So
That's
it's
what I'm saying. Between us, between me and Marion on Friday or Saturday, whenever we choose to do it, because I'm seeing the person sitting next to you twice at the end of this week. I'm sure we'll work it out between us, won't we, Marion?
okay.